This week on the Legion Clubhouse, by Hope Ensnared, which is not really that big of a deal because I gave up hope for Lent.
They were the heroes from the future, teenagers protecting the universe from those that would sow the seeds of chaos. Each had unique powers and abilities, and though they often had their differences, they came together to save the day as the Legion of Superheroes. Now, you can be a part of their adventures and learn the history of the future in the Legion Clubhouse.
I think I have a good subtitle for issue number 56 by Hope Ensnared. NTPTS. No two panels the same. The block syndrome.
Oh my God. This is such a bad time in the narrative to have a fill-in, but to have the fill-in be this crazy different, not just from Giffen, but from anything we've seen. I can't decide whether we're supposed to be seeing him change from panel to panel, whether Eduardo Barreto was called and they're like, Eduardo, can you knock out an issue real quick for us? I don't know. I do want to know what's up with the Inquisitor's head.
He's like a cyborg insect. Because later on, we get to see his head getting ripped off.
Well, good, because he deserves it. He's a schmuck.
I mean, literally, his head gets ripped off.
And he's like, why do silicons live so much longer than carbon?
See, the problem
They're literally made of stone, dude.
Yeah, the Inquisitor is kind of a creepy character. I mean, I get it. So where is the Collector over in Marvel Comics? Where is he at in his life cycle?
In 88, the Collector would have been I think he would have been a minor player in Silver Surfer. Silver Surfer was starting to assemble the Elders of the Galaxy or the Elders of the Universe into something more than just a couple of creeps that we see here and there. So we'd seen the Collector, the Possessor, we'd seen the Grandmaster, the Contemplator, but a lot of the guys that we know now, well, first of all, they weren't all blue. None of them were Jeff Goldblum yet. But yeah, those guys were kind of just swirling around cosmic marvels. So,
because I feel like the Inquisitor is kind of like that equivalent of the Collector, where the Collector must collect everything. And there is a what the heck is the DC equivalent? Elron, not Elron.
Manga Khan?
Maybe that's who it is. Yeah, because he's got the robot assistant Elron.
Manga Khan is the one who he doesn't go collecting things; he buys things or barters.
I mean, that's why I said you can't make it exactly the same. So the Collector goes and collects things. The Inquisitor goes about trying to find answers to things.
Inquisits.
But he is not doing it is not doing a very good job because we'll find out next issue what happens.
Let's just put it this way. When you hire yourself a little blue leprechaun to be your associate in the world, you probably done messed up.
Meanwhile, the legions with really big shoulder pads have reached the Emerald City.
Follow the yellow brick road.
And so here's who we have. We have Dorothy, who is obviously Dawnstar.
Dawnstar, yeah.
We have the Cowardly Lion, who I think is Element Lad. The Scarecrow,
Element Lad,
because Element Lad is always questioning himself. He's always wondering if he's doing the right thing. So I'm going to go with Cowardly Lion for him. I'm going Scarecrow for Wildfire because he just doesn't have a brain. And then the Tin Man is Ultra Boy.
See, I would say that Wildfire may be the Tin Man because he's always trying to find, his heart. He's like trying to get...
Well, maybe. He's always trying to find romance with Dawnstar. Yeah, I can flip those two around. So, yeah. Tin Man is Wildfire and Scarecrow without a brain is Ultra Boy because it did take him 0.5 of a second to switch powers from one to the other. And he didn't realize that you could just change the elements around these green golems and create a barrier. Instead, you're trying to take them on full force, Ultra Boy. Which, again, the costumes here are just not good. I just don't like these big, bulky... I mean, so Ultra Boy's costume... So tell me more about Rimbor. We know in like Bendis's version of Rimbor, that it is pretty, I don't want to say gladiatorial, but it is very much tough guy wins kind of stuff. But for some reason, I want to say like Rimbor, isn't it an industrial planet? Like
At
Pittsburgh?
This point, Rimbor is more like the bad side of town.
Oh, okay. Like Pittsburgh.
When you get into the reboot Legion in the 90s, you do see Rimbor not just being like a terrible place, but being kind of like Pittsburgh or New Jersey, kind of a place that had once, had a lot of industry.
Yeah. So that would make sense.
The industry was gone. And so things are collapsing, and then you have crime moving in because there's no money from the industry anymore.
So that would make sense that Ultra Boy would have these big, like, molten lava gloves, for handling raw steel, and these boots that, aren't going to burn through when you're doing things. But it's still really weird. And I don't understand why. I mean, obviously, the big fashion sense, for those of you that weren't around in the 80s, but let's be honest, nobody under the age of 50 is listening to this podcast. In the 80s, there was a fashion trend, especially for women, to put false shoulder pads in clothing to make your frame kind of more broad, and then that tapers down to your waist and then out. Now, a lot of men's suits have that as well. There's a certain Pumpkin Spice Palpatine that also uses shoulder pads in his suits to make his shoulders look broader instead of saggy. Right. So I understand in 88, it's like, hey, we got to capture on this trend of shoulder pads. Everybody's got to have shoulder pads. The thing is, in the 80s, the shoulder pads were on the inside of the clothing.
And it really is kind of daunting for me because on the one hand, I get a whole new costume. I get everybody gets a whole new costume. I even get the impetus, as much as I don't like it, to, unify, I guess, the aesthetic. But to have Ultra Boy go from wearing green and orange tights for 50 years to all of a sudden, oh, yeah, he's the guy in the black and brown trunks, as opposed to Timberwolf, who's wearing the brown and black trunks.
So I always get those two confused.
Yeah, and you look at, Element Lad went from wearing kind of a fuchsia pink to wearing black and white or gray and white.
Yeah.
And it looks, it's weird. It's not an aesthetic choice that I am entirely on board with. And I feel like the decisions are being made from, not like from a top-down perspective. It's not like, hey, Ultra Boy would change his outfit and do this. It's everybody in the Legion is going to have to deal with this. And in universe, it's because Polar Boy had Computo make everybody ugly new suits. But outside, it's just Keith is like, I want a whole new aesthetic. I want everybody to have this.
Yeah, which is fine.
New art style.
Because we did this back in the 70s, right? With disco bikinis and LeMay, swimsuits on all the heroes. And we talked about them then and how they didn't look right then, and they don't really look right now. And so I'm sure, give us a hot second, in about 7 or 8 issues, we'll be complaining about costumes again because they'll get yet another change. And I get it. And change is fine. I don't have a problem with it. It's just, I don't understand why this particular look. It would be, and of course, the issues that I have don't have back matter stuff, don't always include letter pages, depending on which, if it's something I already have in my collection, or if it's a trade, or if it's a digital version, because I'm almost to the point right now in our reading that I'm about ready to switch over to my all digital collection of Legion, meaning I've purchased them through Comixology over the years. And so, sometimes that stuff includes the back matter, sometimes it doesn't. But one of the things that's kind of a big deal now in comics, or at least comics reporting and stuff that we put up on majorspoilers.com, is anytime we do see the introduction of a new character or we see a costume redesign, generally we will have an article that shows the character designs, the new character designs for whoever it may be, Dazzler or Spider-Man, or whoever it is, or somebody from DC as well. And usually it will have commentary from the artist on, hey, this is what we were thinking. And so that's kind of a cool thing. That stuff doesn't always appear in trade collections later on, but I always find it fascinating when we do get to see a new Doctor Strange of Asgard design pop up, and we get to see the character turnarounds, and the artist is like, well, I was thinking, what would happen if a wizard met with the Asgardian aesthetic, and that is how we came up with stuff. Carlos Mango probably does not actually talk like that, but that's the kind of stuff that I like. And I kind of wish, I know that in past letter pages, people will write in and say, love the new costumes or hate the new costumes or whatever, but there never seems in any of the responses from DC editorial a justification for stuff. Now, I'm sure we're going to get a justification for Block's changes, but that will come in story and not from editorial team.
And this issue, the original letters page does start with 1, 2, 3. The first 4 letters are very critical of issue 51. One includes, and I quote, number 51 was a farce, which is basically what you said. But it also does include a lot of complaints about Keith's immediate and kind of heavy duty, quick, boom, right in your face change of everybody's costume.
Yeah.
Which, again, I get it. And I'm one of the people who I understand, first of all, I understand the thought process behind these changes, but I also don't like the idea, and it's a very late 80s, early 90s idea, that the hero teams have to look like they have uniforms. The Legion gets very uniform looks in the reboot. This is at the point where the Avengers are all wearing bland Avenger leather jackets over their cool costumes. And I feel like the fact that the Legion could have been, an Aboriginal lady with big giant wings and a guy who looks like he's a bag of, ions, and a big rock guy and a little guy in a spaceship, and also some blonde dude in pink with a really cool, curly haired mustache thing. That to me was part of the draw of the 80s Legion. And I feel like from my perspective, not only are the costumes bad, and they are bad, Dawnstar is just ridiculous. They come from a place that I don't appreciate the creative thinking behind it. So it's like doubly bad. I don't know.
Yeah, and I get it. I mean, I don't have a problem with Keith Giffen coming in and saying, I've been doing this for 20 years already. I want to change it up, and I want to imitate this style, or I saw this comic book from the UK. Hey guys, did you know that UK's had comic books over there? And so, I get that stuff. What I don't get, though, is why Shadowlass would go ask Cthulhu for help in saving her husband, Mon-El. Also, why is Mon-El screaming every time somebody is trying to heal him? That doesn't make any sense. Only people who have seen the latest debacle on the Twitters would get that reference.
Oh, God. Okay, so here's the Mon-El. The Mon-El is slowly dying.
Oh, yeah, no, we get that.
Shadowlass, I think in this is really Shadowlass's full-fledged turn into absolute, just kind of like the Knight Templar, I will never give up kind of driven psycho mindset that we see in her reboot incarnation a lot, where she's gone from being a relatively thoughtful person to being very much, this is the only thing that matters to me, and I will continue beating on this Don Quixote style until I die. And again, it's a creative urge that I understand, and I really appreciate the fact that it comes from she loves Mon-El, but it's also something where I feel like they've already beat the horse of Mon-El can't be healed for 6, 7 issues now. It's time for something.
Yeah, it's time for him to move on. Come on, dude, just die already. You've got an inheritance. You've got an inheritance in your savings account that's been building up for thousands of years. Shadowlass needs that money, Daddy. Come on.
Have you by any chance watched the Knives Out movies recently? Just saying.
Yeah. So for whatever reason, and it comes off in the story that Cthulhu is also working with the Emerald Empress. But I don't think that is the case. I think there's a assumption being made, but maybe not. I don't know. But anyway, Mon-El gets sucked into a black hole, very much like Block got sucked into a black hole, and Shadowlass goes after him, and they find themselves in the Inquisitor's sights. Because again, if Block is an ancient, long-living, sentient being, then certainly Mon-El must also have some powers that allow him to be a lifelong, sentient being. Wait till the Inquisitor finds out about Superman 1,000,000. Ooh.
He doesn't exist yet. And to be fair, the idea of a Daxamite possibly being the key to immortality, I get it. And the fact that, we're starting to see this, hey, can we figure out immortality as being the driving force of whatever it is that Praying Mantis Man is up to? That's good, because honestly, we need to figure out what's going on. This is just, again, so many plot points have been bubbling on the back burners, and so many Legionnaires have been just kind of moving around that it's just amazing, wacky coincidence time, because all of a sudden, hey, Block and Mon-El are in the same room.
At least they're trying to get to a point in the storyline where they're trying to get these things to converge. But then they also throw in the bit where Zindak is sent off planet. Because, you can never trust the president of the United Planets. He's always got something going on. He's always trying to push those people who are in charge out so he can install his own puppet regime. And Zindak is gone, only to be replaced by, who is it, Siobhan Aaron? No, Gigi. Yeah, Quasimodo.
Gigi.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that there's something nefarious behind this plot, but as soon as you said that Gigi was, as soon as anybody says that Gigi is the new chief of the Science Police for Earth, I'm like, okay, somebody's doing something. This is someone manipulating things, because there is no way that Gigi Cusimano is in any way qualified to be the chief of Earth.
Did you hear that, Pete? Did you hear that? Okay.
That's right. It's wrong.
Yeah. Anyway, we find out that the Inquisitor, perhaps it's the Inquisitor, wants to live forever. I mean, who wants to live forever? But there you go.
Maybe he's working for somebody.
Yes, maybe. Obviously. Maybe he's working for someone.
Cthulhu are working.
But Shadowlass, her love, her love is so deep. How deep is your love? That she is willing to fight in the darkness for her love, Mon-El. And eventually, their love opens the door to your heart, and there's Block on the other side of the shadow door. And then all heck breaks loose as they realize, hey, it's much easier to just draw our characters in action poses against a black background and call it an issue.
That's another reason why I think that maybe Eduardo Barreto, who is reputedly a fast penciler, he's a fast artist, but I feel like this is something that maybe Eduardo got called in at the last minute, because so much of this is on a black background that you do have to kind of wonder.
Well, it doesn't look like we get another penciler on this issue for quite a while. I mean, looks like Keith is able to keep up with the schedule after this issue. I thought maybe Keith Giffen is not able to keep up with all the art duties, so they keep bringing in, filler artists. Like we've seen many other artists today do that, where they're on for 2 issues, then off for 3 issues, then back for 2 issues or whatever, just because their art takes a long time. But that doesn't look like the case. So I don't know what the thinking was here. Maybe it was a Christmas holiday or Thanksgiving break or something. I don't mind the art in this. I really don't, except that nobody can draw Block the same in any 2 panels. And then even he gets some funky shoulder pads in the form of mini volcanoes.
Yes, and he seems to be growing, because he's now considerably larger than when we last saw him.
Yes.
So I think this is something where, oh no, Block is changing forever. Now here's the important thing you need to know. You will probably never see another issue starring Block again. But everybody's got their job, so.
Yeah, by the end of this issue, Block has become Joe Fixit, and the little leprechaun guy has been captured by Polar Boy, and Mon-El has gone back to Kid Cthulhu to see what happens next.
If you enjoy the show, we would appreciate your support. You can find out more and become a Legion Clubhouse member at patreon.com/majorspoilers.
Obviously, what happens next is issue 57. Under a watchful eye, Paul Levitz, Keith Giffen on the writing, and Keith Giffen and Al Gordon doing the art duties. This is all about the Emerald Empress. If you don't know who the Emerald Empress is by now, oh, buddy, have we got some stories to tell you.
The splash page of issue 57 is lovely. It's really, really well done. But it does beg an important question, presuming that begging the question is still a possible thing. So the Legionnaires got their new suits from Computo. That's why they all look alike. Why, then, does the Emerald Empress have the exact same suit on at the beginning of she's got the same costume with the shoulders and the buckles?
No, that's later in the issue. On the splash page, she looks like she looks like she's a cross between fire and ice that Giffen would later go on to draw in other comics. But if you look at that,
like an iPad on her hip and some big
it's really a weird like Buck Rogers, Wilma Deering kind of look to her in this.
I rather enjoy it.
It doesn't. It's not bad. She's got the open shirt that's tied at the bottom, like you see many Southern women doing in the 1980s. Again, that's all the thing. But here's the issue where we do see her like snap the Inquisitor's neck and kill him, and then eat his blood. So that is interesting. And then she puts on her big cape that makes her look like, I don't know what. It is the worst. It is ridiculous.
Big cape, big cape, big cape. Here's the problem that I have. So Block's little side trip is revealed to be part of the Emerald Empress's plan.
Yeah.
But unless I mistake my memory, Block disappeared before the Emerald Empress escaped from Labyrinth. So was she starting these manipulations while she was still?
Yeah, obviously. How do you think that WWE got in there to help bust her out of Labyrinth? Remember, he intentionally did something to. Unless the glow. I guess that's Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, so that not WWE. Sorry, wrestling fans.
Sorry, wrestling fans. Yeah, Garak of the Glow.
Yeah,
showed. I think Block disappeared before that. Anyway. I don't know. I don't like it.
That's what I'm saying is she's doing a lot of plotting behind the scenes. Speaking of plotting, Dawnstar and Wildfire sitting in a tree.
Dawnstar goes for the kiss. Dawnstar goes for the kiss. Everybody.
You think she burns her lips?
Oh, for sure. You can smell the smell of burning bologna. Yeah. But if you look, her lips are they're like smoldering because there's like a big thing of fire coming out of her mouth. She's burning the snot out of herself to kiss on Wildfire.
I guess I don't understand how this containment suit is supposed to work. If he's literally on fire, can he control where his fire is at? I know. It's his containment. It's his self-containment suit.
He has made a body.
Yeah.
And the body is on fire.
Is containing all of his essence inside. So how can he not sit anywhere without melting it or touch people without burning them constantly? I have so many questions about elemental and normal person relations. Apparently so does Computo. Computo is also like, I'm too young to be viewing this stuff. Beep boop, boop boop.
Beep barp. When a flaming man and a winged woman really, really love each other, Stephen.
The metaphor is not lost here in that she is flying too close to the sun.
Exactly.
It will all come crashing down later on. Meanwhile, the Thicc art is back by Keith Giffen. And I mean, everyone here is thick.
A polar boy got a jaw that you could cut glass with.
Where is Wakanda as far as Afrofuturism goes in the 1980s?
The Black Panther would have just gotten done with his limited series, which dealt with a country nearby that was totally not South Africa, but was totally apartheid.
Yeah.
It was a Kurt Busiek 4-issue limited where he fought the supremacists.
But Wakanda at this point is already Afrofuturism, right?
Oh yeah, Wakanda was created. Yeah, when we first saw them back in Fantastic Four, I'm going to say.
I didn't know if that early on they had already determined that or not.
Yeah, it's a secret hidden world.
And I know that part, but was it?
They're all like they're super genius.
Is it super advanced and stuff? Yeah. So we get to see Invisible Kid go home, to Angie or Agni, and we get a nice little architecture of the inner worlds reference here. And of course, everyone here is super excited. And yet no one says, hey, you guys remember Tyrock and all of his people? What happened to them? Pour one out for Tyrock, everyone. Pour one out for Tyrock. And I will say that because everyone is so that there are panels here where Invisible Kid looks like Amanda Waller.
His little sister, Danielle, is also aging up, getting closer and closer to her own superhero identity, which she'll have for a good 20, 25 minutes. But it is interesting. And you do make a valid point, because there's I think it's page 7, where he's like, oh no, I will not answer my phone alarm. I will not be a legionnaire today. Flabba, flabba, flabba. And he's got on the big, wide trench coat, and he looks
just like Amanda Waller.
He is broad. He is a broad-shouldered
man. Yeah. Also, we have seen Emerald Empress, and of course Manos and Tyrock Johnson and the rest all be somewhat evil.
Mm-hmm.
But this issue, and again, we've talked about villains being amped up. Emerald Empress is like wicked in what she does. She has no problem burning someone alive and then us being able to see the burned, scarred body on panel.
Mm-hmm. Burning children. And it really is, I want to say around 2006, every single villain in the DC universe turned out to be either an axe murderer, a sex criminal, or some sort of psychopath. And this is the beginning of that, because Emerald Empress, who has been evil, don't get me wrong, but she is now not just more powerful. She is like nuclear, over the top. And it's not even evil crazy. She has a little creature that rides on her shoulder, and she's giggling.
Yeah. Silly Tizzles, Twix are for kids.
Silly Tizzles, tee hee 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 hee. And burning people to death.
Return of the Jedi is out by now, right? So this is what's his name that sits on Jabba's shoulders.
Salacious Crumb.
Salacious Crumb. Yeah. That's who that is. But Silly Twizzles, Twix are for kids. There's also something in this big fight between Invisible Kid and the rest of the Legion and the Science Police and Quasimodo showing up. That
the Science Police.
That is, I think, rather interesting. There's a lot of big fighting going on. So, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of big fights, a lot of panels. It's all fine. The big giant shoulder pad costume has its role, especially when which brown suited hero is this? Timberwolf.
It's Timberwolf,
because he's got the pixie ears.
Right, and he's got the wolf cape.
Yeah.
Wolf cape.
Yeah. Anyway, she makes a point at some point in this story where she says something about if the eye could have been destroyed or could be destroyed, she would have done it a long time ago. Which then makes you go, hey, Matthew, you remember when you said, was the Emerald Empress doing all this stuff while in prison? Maybe it's the eye that's doing all of the controlling. No, it's the children who are wrong.
Now that you mention it, the eye being behind all of this makes perfect sense. If Saria is in a coma,
I believe
the eye
that
wants its ghost back.
I do believe that there is some point in the future where it is revealed, and this may be the reboot Legion.
It is.
Where they reveal that the eye is sentient and there is a symbiotic relationship between whoever controls the eye and the eye. So like when Shrinking Violet becomes Emerald Vi, it's kind of that same thing, right?
Good God, I hate.
I know that.
Yes.
So people are like, Steven knows nothing about the Legion. Oh, I know all about Emerald Vi.
Anyway, yeah, and rest in peace, Lightning Lass's cool kind of 80s hip costume. Now she's back in the same horrible shoulder pad suit. And it has a little lightning symbol on the thing. There's like a little box on her shoulder with a lightning symbol.
Which is really weird, right? Because just last issue, she was wearing the big, weird lightning bolt shoulder pad thing. Yeah. And now this is her. Again, I'm telling you, Keith Giffen, someone finally slipped him. I know we've talked before about Mobius, but someone finally slipped him a copy of Judge Dredd, and his whole world changed.
If you look behind her, Magnetic Kid, whom she was sexually harassing in his old costume, which is technically his brother's first costume, Magnetic Kid is now upgraded to one of the Computo suits as well.
Yeah, it's really
the big pink jacket, and it's horrible. It's just. It's bad.
And then, of course, Polar Boy makes the mistake of getting captured by the Emerald Empress, and now we are in a standoff. A standoff, I tell you. So anyway, that's this issue. It's okay. I mean, I like Emerald Empress as a villain. I think of all of the villains, I like the Fatal Five, but I think I like Emerald Empress the most as a Legion villain of all time. I mean, I know some people will say, "Oh no, it's got to be Mordru," or "Oh no, it's got to be, it's got to be the Glow," or whoever. But
nobody's going to say the Glow.
Well, I guarantee you, there's somebody out there listening right now who is like, "I love the Glow." But I really like Emerald Empress as a villain. So anytime that we get her just being evil and really showing how she should have been the leader of the Fatal Five and that she doesn't need the Fatal Five to do what she needs to do. I kind of dig on those kind of issues. So I really didn't have a problem with a big fighty issue. I have a problem with the little minute details. And there's certainly a lot of scratchy details all over this issue.
It is nice to see them actually going back, because the original Fatal Five premise was 5 villains who were dangerous enough that individually they were a match for the Legion. They were 5 guys who were so dangerous that when they came together, they were basically 5 legions unto themselves. This is the first time ever in the history of the universe that Emerald Empress has actually been, realized as that dangerous. Yeah. And the fact that she had to put, the hubcaps off of a 65 Edsel over her shoulders, and then some drapes that she found.
It's because she's so thick.
I imagine if she like drops that thing, costs her $2,000 to replace it every time.
Probably.
Terrible.
All right, everybody, that wraps it up for this installment of the Legion Clubhouse. Thank you so much for downloading and checking us out. Questions, comments, thoughts, ideas. Make sure to head over to our Discord. You know where that is. And if you don't, there's a link in the show notes where you can find it.
The Legion Clubhouse is a production of Major Spoilers Entertainment, LLC, and is produced by Steven Schleicher. Your hosts were Matthew Peterson and Steven Schleicher. You can follow Matthew at Mighty King Cobra and Steven at Major Spoilers. You can follow this podcast on Twitter at Legion Clubhouse. If you have questions or comments, send them to podcast@majorspoilers.com. I'm Jason Inman. Until next time, eat it, Grandpa.
This podcast is copyright 2024 by Major Spoilers Entertainment, LLC.